The world of work has changed forever. Part 1. Hey man, what's happening? This isn't another cyclical upswing, downswing. This isn't a situation where 1 or 2 or 3% GNP growth for a few years will take everything back to the way it was. It's never going back to the way it was. This is a short talk where I hope to give you a feel for it. What are the threats? What are the opportunities? What are you going to do about it? The world has changed. What are you going to do about it? Do you need to do anything today? This month? This year? Are you keeping your head down below the parapet, hoping it all goes away, and slightly worrying about what happens for your children's generation? Or are you right in the middle of it now? Either way, you're not on your own for looking for the way forwards. And the good news is, there are people to show you. And you may not be as trapped as you think. This is my favourite transformational cartoon. Generally, when we are feeling trapped, it is as we are clinging to the source of our pain out of fear of letting go and moving on. I'm going to talk about 5 particular authors. The outer theme here, starting with Brian Solis, is the end of business as usual, and he complements it with this inner theme, which is about change. Extinct, resist change, adapt, or evolve. Turning on, we get to Mitch Joel. One of the themes in his book is squiggly careers. He certainly has had a squiggly career. He's a grand fromage now in the world of digital marketing, but he started off as a rock journalist. One of the reasons I've chosen the book Control Alt Delete is that he started writing this book really about what's happening for digital business, which is his main focus. However, after he'd kind of written the book, he'd realised that it isn't just enough to look at changing the companies, you've got to change the individuals as well. So as he says here, Control Alt Delete, reboot your business, reboot your life, your future depends on it. Wired editor Chris Anderson's been well known for a long time in this area. I haven't read The Makers myself, but friends of mine have raved about it. What Chris is saying is that we live in a remarkable time. I think this is one of the important themes on the positive side I want to get over to you. No matter what the difficulties are, and the media certainly emphasises those, Chris says, today anyone with an idea and a laptop can create the seeds of a world-changing company. He's talking about the new industrial revolution. The word revolution is really very important. He says, what is an industrial revolution? Answers his own question with, it refers to a set of technologies that dramatically amplify the productivity of people. So just go back to that, it refers to a set of technologies that dramatically amplify the productivity of people. That set of technologies is definitely out there on the internet. In my experience of speaking to people, they kind of know that there are all these Lego blocks around, but they don't know there are small red ones, blue corners, green mats, etc., etc. James Altucher. James is a unique individual. James has written for the FT. He's written for Harvard Business Review. He started, I think, something like 20 businesses, of which about 16 he said went bust. One year he lost his wife, family, house, and didn't have money in the bank to buy diapers. And at one point was the top Google search result for I want to kill myself painlessly. He recovered from that and has been up and down many times since. And one of these themes in his book is what do you do as an individual, coming back to this inner theme. What do you do as an individual in these circumstances? Life isn't linear anymore. So James's analysis is the world is changing. Markets have crashed, jobs have disappeared, industries have been disrupted. Everything we aspired to for security, he says, everything we thought was safe no longer is. No longer is someone coming to hire you, to invest in your company, to sign you, to pick you. It's on you to make the most important decision in your life. Choose yourself. You can no longer afford to rely on others and repeat the same mistakes. The middle class has caved in, and every industry is in the process of transformation. Individuals have to transform also. Is this all doom and gloom? Of course not. It's actually good news, and this is a typically James way of putting it. It's the decline of institutions that have lied to us for the past 100 to 200 years. Human beings are born pioneers. The rise of corporatism forced people into cubicles instead of out exploring and inventing and manifesting. It'll give you a theme of where he's coming from, and I think it's a very accurate summary of what's going on, certainly in terms of the financial sector, which I see most. As I'll talk about later, firms are getting larger and larger. What we're seeing these days is much more corporatism than capitalism, by which I mean capitalism is what might happen if you and I go out, form a business, we get some money, we start up a business, we want it to work. If it doesn't work, we'll go bust. If we've taken out too many loans, we'll end up losing our houses. That's capitalism. Working in a company of hundreds, thousands of people is corporatism. You're in a bureaucracy, you're not individually at risk, and the owners of the company are far away. Daniel Priestley, I think he's got 2 really important ideas to understand, and this book, The Entrepreneurial Revolution, which came out this year, is really catching on. The first point that Daniel is making, very much like Chris Anderson, it talks about revolution. He's talking about revolution. Daniel's talking about an entrepreneurial revolution. If we look back over history, we had the agricultural era, when the majority of people were on the land. In the early industrial era, the majority of people worked in factories. Late industrial era, the majority of people now work in what you might call white-collar factories. The late industrial era is characterised perhaps by people not really enjoying those white-collar factories. In 2005, we had the book The Living Dead by David Bolchover. The Living Dead. Switched off, zoned out. The shocking truth about office life. Well, in 2013, based on the people I've spoken to, it's probably something like The Wish We Weren't Here. Running around stressed out. The shocking truth about office life. I saw some survey last year which said that 80% of people in London don't enjoy their jobs. One of Daniel's two key points about where we are at the moment is income distribution. This is the chart he shows for the UK, which, if you can't see it clearly, has got a shocking spike. He says that 80% of the income is now made by the top 10%. He goes on to say that this income distribution is across all industries. So we might say, for example, that the average actor is not getting paid a lot at your local theatre. However, the big Hollywood stars are making 7, 8, who knows, 9-figure incomes. People always blame their industry. Gives the example of someone who might have just qualified as a hypnotist and says, you can't make any money in hypnosis. I can get £50 per hour, I've got to hire a room, I've got to pay taxes. There's really no money in it. To which Daniel replies, try telling that to Paul McKenna, who's making 20 or 30 million per annum. So his original theme was a key person of influence. Basically, whatever your industry, you want to become the go-to person, and he talks to people about that. His second key idea is on the entrepreneurial revolution. Why is the entrepreneurial revolution happening now? In my words, we might find out if we cross Bill Clinton and Karl Marx, perhaps an unlikely combination. This slide is incredibly important. It's the means of production, stupid. When I watched Daniel Priestley's talk on YouTube, highly valued, highly paid, I rewatched this point many, many times. If you get this point, then you understand what everybody is talking about. And when I say get it, I mean if it sinks into your bones. You can get it as a fact, you can repeat it to someone a minute later, you can say you understand it, but this is the thing that you really, really have to get in your bones. If you get it in your bones, you will see that whether you call it a new industrial revolution or entrepreneurial revolution doesn't matter. But the world has changed into a completely different phase. We've had the agricultural era, we've had the industrial era, and it's in a very, very different phase. And it's all around the means of production. So what do we mean by this? Throughout history, unless you were very lucky, the secret of success in any era, owning your own destiny, was to be born into a family with fixed assets, whether it's land or factory. In the agricultural times, if you're born into a family with a load of land, that'd be very good news. In the industrial era, if you're born into a family with a big factory, that would be a good idea. But now, and only now, get your head around that luck next time you're reading a negative article about the economy. Anyone can own the means of production. So let's just be clear on that. From a Marxist perspective, Karl Marx was saying at the late 19th century that the problem of capitalism, as it was then, as I say, I think we're more corporatism now, was that the owners of the means of production, roughly speaking, to keep it simple, the factories, were really exploiting the workers. If you're a worker, you had no chance of saving up the money for your own factory. In agricultural times, if you're a worker on the land, you had no chance of saving up for 1,000 acres. But the point is now that anyone can. You're looking at the internet, so you've got a chance. Anyone can own the means of production themselves. This is the key point. For the first time in 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 years, for the first time you can do as much as anybody else can. And that's phenomenal. You can have a startup for $0, you can have it $100, you can have it for $1,000. Shall I give you some examples? So in terms of the means of production, what do you mean no fixed assets required? Well, if you want something done for you, if you want a piece of work done for you, programming or design, you can go to elance.com and many others. Elance.com, when I looked it up this morning, I've done 99,000 pieces of work, totaling $865 million of value. Maybe you want something made for you. Well, you can go to Alibaba.com, the world's largest business-to-business exchange, get anything made for you in China. As Daniel Priestley said, in 2 weeks' time, you can have TV sets coming over in your brand. You can have surfboards coming in your brand. I'll give an example later of someone who's using China in a similar way. I don't think Marx spoke about the means of distribution, but the means of distribution are very important. It's all very well producing goods and services, but how are you going to get them out there? So first thing is you'll need a professional design or brand. 99designs.com has over 250,000 designers. Dozens pitch in response to your brief. You choose the one who you think's closest to it, you work with them, and you buy if you like it. Okay, so you've now got your service, you've now got your goods, you've now got a nice logo and brand around it, so you need to tell folks about it. Well, in the past, you'd have to hire a PR company, which would cost you thousands of pounds a month to get you into newspapers, magazines, etc. But now, a good point that Daniel makes, one needs to appreciate that companies have spent absolute fortunes, millions, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions in some cases, creating a platform that you can use for free to connect to anybody that can connect to the internet. So that's billions of people. YouTube, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, many, many more. Just think about that. So the means of distribution are virtually free. This can go on for quite a long time, but just to give you two more examples, marketplaces. So you think back in the dim and distant past, if you made something, you would take it to the market. Somebody might buy it from you. Where is the market now? Well, we have eBay. We all know about eBay. In 2012 alone, a random statistic, they had 13 billion sales on mobile alone. That's not counting PCs and things on the desk. Another one is Etsy, which describes itself as a marketplace full of the best handmade and vintage goods. Sells itself under the line, escape the 9-to-5 grind and turn your passion into a business. A couple of years ago, I bought my younger daughter a hand-knitted, very cute Kindle cover. A rather strange thing you might say, but this is the whole point of the internet. You can get what you want. You can be there sitting in your room. If your thing is knitting, you can knit unique things. You can sell one a month. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you. It's a spare time activity or it's a business. Either way, you can reach people who you've never even met. The key point here is that all of these authors are saying, you choose your future. Increasingly, it's a choice. It's a choice between being free range, between being an artist or entrepreneur, or being a battery hen, being stuck in a white-collar factory, probably as a temp worker, probably as a contractor. There, of course, is a middle way at the moment. Maybe most people are still in the middle way. But this middle way is increasingly getting squeezed out. Why is it getting squeezed out? I think it's quite important to understand. And we will look at that in the second part of The World of Work Has Changed Forever.